Okay, big news coming out of the tennis world. Jannik Sinner has been banned by WADA for 3 months. We thought we were going to get a result from this doping case in April through a tribunal. However, that's not the case. We have got a settlement outside of that. So before we've got to those proceedings between WADA and Jannik and his team. And it means that he will be banned and has been banned from the 9th of February up until the 4th of May in terms of competing. He will be able to practice from what I know, I think it's the 13th of April off the top of my head, but it's sometime in April, so there will be a couple of weeks where he's able to train, but up until then he won't be able to train either. So it means he will miss some major tournaments, but he'll be back most likely for the Italian Open or Rome Masters, and he won't miss a Grand Slam because the French Open, of course, Roland Garros is after that. There's been a big divide in the tennis world on this result. The reaction has been very, very split. Some people think there should be no ban whatsoever because he wasn't negligent and they don't think he was at fault. Others think that actually a 3-month ban is spot on. And others think actually fine, a 3-month ban might have been fine, but maybe it should have been at a different time when a slam was included to really make it hurt a little bit at least. I guess is their thinking on that. And then others think it should be longer. Now, initially the guidelines from WADA and I think even the ITF or ITA, even president was for most cases like this, it'll be between 1 to 2 years. Now, from what I understand, the settlement that's been made is essentially because both WADA and Jannik were afraid that potentially if it goes to an independent tribunal, the outcome is not going to go the way that they'd like. So I guess if we're looking at the two extremes, if WADA had got their way, it could have been a 1 year or potentially even a 2-year ban. If Jannik had got his way, he wouldn't have got a ban whatsoever. So I think this is supposed to be a sort of middle ground. 3 months, just my initial thoughts when I saw it seemed a little bit light. If you're going to meet in the middle, I feel like 6 months might be, if we're talking about averages and my background is in maths and accounting, let's just say that 1 year is what the maximum would have been with the independent tribunal, then you just halve that and it's 6 months, right? I mean, that's kind of what I would have thought. However, that's not to say that I think he should have 6 months. I'm just saying from an outside looking in that would have made sense if you're going to settle. I've actually seen some people like Kafelnikov, obviously a former player, come out and say that why would he accept the 3 months if he feels he isn't guilty or he isn't guilty, because by accepting it, he's essentially accepting that he's guilty. I think he just wants it to be over with, and I think the timing of the 3 months is quite convenient for him, if I'm being honest. If the only other period of time in the calendar that it would have been better potentially was or is the 3 months straight after the US Open. But apart from that, I mean, look, he's not going to miss a slam. He'll miss Madrid, he'll miss Indian Wells and Miami, and he'll miss the Monte Carlo Masters. But he won't miss Rome, the Rome Masters, so he'll play the Italian Open and play Roland Garros and Wimbledon. And you have to also remember that he did play Indian Wells, but he lost his points and prize money from that because of the initial ban, so he actually won't be affected in terms of ranking from that. He may well lose his number one ranking, depending on obviously how the others like Alcaraz and Zverev do below him, but it's not going to make a massive dent in his year. The only big thing for me is the fact that he won't be able to train up until I think it is the 30th of April, but the ban is from the 9th of February up until the 4th of May. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a huge ban, and at the same time, it's still a ban nonetheless, right? And in terms of reaction from people, there's been some very interesting reactions. So, first of all, Stan Wawrinka came out and said, I don't believe in a clean sport anymore. So I think he's clearly not happy about the in his mind, the shortness of the ban, if that's even the right phrase. Andrew Castle came out and said any talk of a settlement or agreement when it comes to drugs bans or suspensions makes people feel very uncomfortable. There's a huge reputational risk for the man who is world number one, but also for tennis as well. But you can't say you can't say that these sort of cases should be black and white. Tim Henman came out and said, when I read the statement this morning, it just seems a little bit too convenient. Obviously, having just won the Australian Open to miss 3 months of the tour and then be eligible to play Roland Garros, the timing couldn't have been any better for him. But I still think it leaves a pretty sour taste for the sport. Kyrgios, as you'd imagine, came out and also had some thoughts. Said that the doping case, previously said that the Sinner and Iga doping case were disgusting for the sport. And then just said, obviously, Sinner's team have done everything in their power to just go ahead and take a 3-month ban. No titles lost, no prize money lost. Sad day for tennis. Fairness in tennis does not exist. And Liam Brody came out interestingly saying, didn't realise you could reach a settlement regarding a doping ban. Interesting, back in time for French Open, I guess. And Lopez, interestingly, responded to Wawrinka when Wawrinka talked about not believing in a clean sport and said it's very clear that he hasn't done anything to enhance his performance. That's proven. He's taken full responsibility for the mistakes of others. A longer suspension would have made this sport cleaner. I don't think so. And then what was really interesting is actually the PTPA coming out. And they're an independent, of course, we know, group of players and experts, etc., who have their own thoughts on the tennis world, and they also are trying to support players in different ways. And essentially they came out and said the system is not a system, it's a club. Supposed case-by-case discretion is in fact merely cover for tailored deals, unfair treatment and inconsistent rulings. It's not just the different results for different players, it's the lack of transparency, the lack of process, the lack of consistency. This bias is unacceptable for all athletes and shows a deep disrespect for every sport and its fans. So, yeah, not great. But interestingly, the people that came out, for example, like Kafanakov, saying that actually it confirms that maybe he was guilty then, I think the majority of the other people in the tennis world are saying, well, essentially, this agreement certifies Jannik's innocence. He said that he would take responsibility for essentially for his team's mistakes because they're his team, but essentially has stuck to the fact that he himself didn't do anything wrong and didn't deliberately dope, essentially. Look, in terms of my thoughts, so my thoughts are this. I think either don't ban him at all, or if they're going to ban him, at least make it 3 months and make it overlap a slam, or make it even 6 months. I mean, my hope is that it was done on purpose. Everything points to it not being done on purpose, but you just never really know with these cases. But let's just assume that's the case. And if that is the case, then okay, either you just don't ban him, or if you're going to ban him, then at least make it something substantial. Like, even if it was just 3 months, but it ran between, April 1st to June 1st, for example. April, May, June. Oh, sorry. It would have been to July 1st, but that potentially, I think that's overlaps with Wimbledon. So let's just say mid-March, for example, it'll be April, May, June to mid-June, right? He'll just miss Roland Garros in terms of a Grand Slam. You kind of feel like, okay, well, he's actually going to hurt in some way, shape, or form in terms of the rankings, the points, the prize money, etc. Right? He'll miss a slam. He'll miss a Grand Slam winning opportunity, and that's really what he's hunting for right now. Of course, Masters 1000 tournaments are very important to him, but the slams are the epitome right now of the forefront of his thoughts. Look, I mean, it's a very sticky situation. It's messy. There's a lot of different opinions on this, as you can tell by the reactions from multiple people. But I think I'm just happy that it's at a close. and hopefully, once he's back, it'll be interesting to see how he adapts early on at the Rome Masters from the timeout. But I have a feeling he'll be okay, if I'm being honest. So we'll find out, I guess. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember to hit that like button. Do subscribe if you're new, and do your rating or review if you're listening on podcast platform. Do also leave in the comment section your thoughts on the ban. Is it too long? Is it too short? Is it just right? And do you think it's a bit convenient, the timing, and also potentially just the whole agreement in the first place? Thank you very much.